Red Dead Redemption 2. Came on my 17th birthday. It really feels like it was yesterday. Getting off work, loading up the PS4. The excitement was crazy. It was the first game I ever pre-ordered, and to be honest, there's many positives about the game that I can speak about, including that Red Dead Redemption 2 is the greatest game of all time. You won't hear me ever say anything different. There is no game that pulls you into its virtual world as much as Red Dead does. The immersion and story feels like a true and vivid Western world full of all kinds of different people. And that's just one of the reasons why Red Dead Redemption 2 ruined gaming for me.
When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
Now, no disrespect to other open world video games, there are many, and they are great. I can see how it's unfair to compare any open world game ever to a Rockstar title, let alone the best and most recent Rockstar title. The Witcher 3 is also known as one of the greatest of all time, rightfully so. I never truly got into it much, but from what I've seen and heard about it, it belongs. I plan on replaying one day to truly get a grasp on how great it truly is. But again, just going by what I've heard and seen, I haven't exactly played it since my teen years. I remember it being good though. Though it is great, it doesn't exactly stack up to Red Dead in my opinion. I mean, it shouldn't considering how old it is. I plan on replaying it again and maybe making a video on it. The Witcher 4, I must say, looks amazing, and I'm truly excited for that. The trailer caused a bit of controversy, but I loved it. Ciri as the main character has to be an automatic W. The graphics look absolutely amazing. Even though it's a cinematic, I have no doubt the actual game will look amazing also. Can't wait for 2031. No, honestly. What is it with gaming companies announcing games 5+ years before release? Heck, even 4+ years is crazy. Cyberpunk is up there too for a lot of people. Though the game is infamous for its horrible launch, it seems to have changed people's minds over the years. As for me, well, I liked it. I don't think it's the best game ever and definitely not one of my favorites, but I enjoyed it. It's a very different game than Red Dead, so it's really hard to compare, but they are both open world, and in terms of creativity though, it's great. Kingdom Come Deliverance series is one that comes to mind. It's actually probably the closest to Red Dead in terms of themes and mechanics. Good story, good graphics, cool combat. This reminds me of my very first video about Rockstar making a medieval game, but if I'm being honest, as good as the series is, it doesn't really compare, unfortunately. And all these games I mentioned are great, sure, but that's my point. These are absolute great games, maybe even masterpieces, but still, Red Dead trumps all. And not only that, it kinda ruins other open world games for me. Let me explain exactly what I mean by that. For example, let's talk about GTA 5, a game that released in 2013, almost 12 years ago. Crazy, I know. GTA 5 is a great open world game also, not the best but great. Now let's compare to another open world game like Saints Row. Just so you know, Saints Row 4 in my opinion is one of the best and most fun open world games I've ever played. I hold that game in very high regard. Now GTA 5 physics are very different from Saints Row's, pretty much entirely different games. Take this video from the Game Outlaws channel. As you can see, the gameplay and physics work very differently.
Crap. Man, screw this.
Now this isn't to say one is bad and the other is great. They are just different style. One with a more realistic, immersive feel, and the other with a more arcadey feel. To be clear, I'm talking about the franchises as a whole, but I wanted to use the latest examples of the two series. I personally think Saints Row 2022 gameplay can be bad and sometimes outright awful. Saints Row 4 on the other hand is my favorite of the series. You may ask me why. That's where the franchise fell off, they say. Well, I respectfully disagree. The superpower gimmick was just way too fun. The closest we'll get to a Flash game. That being said, it's the same for me when it comes to Red Dead versus other open world games. Red Dead Immersion is just crazy. Red Dead is a lot of games in one. Fishing, hunting, story-driven, great graphics, great characters, great mechanics like the weight system, where depending how much or how little you eat, Arthur will gain or lose weight. Also another one which might be my favorite, the hair growth system. Basically your hair and beard will grow over time in the game, compared to GTA 5 where you could just go to the shop and get any hairstyle you want. Now I'm honestly not hating. It's hard to make videos like this because I'm not trying to disrespect these other amazing games. This is truly my opinion, not fact. Red Dead to me is the magnum opus of open world games. Not that it's the fault of the other games, Rockstar is just the greatest when it comes to video game development in my opinion. Though thankfully the crunch era is less of a factor, they still spend the most money and have a lot more developers working on their titles. Their parent company Take-Two also trusts them to actually take their time and even delay if they want to perfect the game. Can't say that for a lot of other AAA gaming companies. Most gaming companies like to rush or release a game in a bad state, or if you're any sports title, just release the same game every year. Ironically, Take-Two does that, but that's for a different video on a different day. As for this video, the story is incredible of course, but I think those other games have great stories too. Though I think Red Dead is the best of them, it's not like the others are terrible. Characters are also a big factor in games. Geralt is great, V is great, and so is Henry, along with every other open world game, but Arthur Morgan is personally tied for first as my favorite video game character ever, along with Ellie Williams from the Last of Us series, which I also want to do a video about one day. Now Arthur isn't exactly a good guy when we are first introduced to him, and depending on your decisions and how you play the game, he can be the most evil human being in the history of America.
Is that a spider web?
This what you want?
Damn it!
You want to get shot, my friend?
Say about a man who lost his way so awfully.
Oh, I've had enough of you, bounty hunter or not. Whoa, whoa, steady there. I'll scare away my dinner.
You're done now.
I'll blow your damn brains out!
Over time, story-wise, he becomes a better man. You watch him as he tries to bring some type of morality to the gang, led by Dutch.
You want me to kill you too, old woman?
Throughout the game and story, you'll see the gang's trust in Dutch fade away slowly. People die, secrets are revealed. You don't know who's who or what's what anymore.
What was that?
Horrible old crone.
But you killed her.
She was gonna betray us, Arthur. Couldn't you tell?
No.
Well, I got some Spanish. She was.
You sure you're all right, Dutch?
I am just trying to make sure that some of us survive, Arthur. Now, shall we proceed?
I guess.
The game makes you feel for the characters, especially Arthur Morgan, who, as I said, is tied with Ellie Williams as my favorite video game character ever. Also, I think Roger Clark is the greatest voice in Rockstar games. He does a truly amazing job, and it's honestly hard to top.
Often, neither do I. But then I meet someone like you, and everything makes sense.
You're too smart for me, sister. I guess I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan.
When it comes to non-open world games, I've played many, but perhaps there are more out there I should play. Red Dead Redemption 2 is clearly the best game I've ever played, open world or no though. The Last of Us Part 1 I have number 2, which is an entirely different game than Red Dead, though they both are story-driven games with great gameplay and graphics, but I'm trying to only compare the open world titles I have played, like the games I mentioned earlier. For example, as much as I love Resident Evil 2, I would never compare it with a game like Red Dead, even though they both are story-driven games with great gameplay and graphics if we're talking about the remake. I'm writing this script at nighttime though, so I'll refrain from speaking further about the latter or showing any clips from it. Here's a cool poster though. Overall, this is just my opinion, I can't say that enough times. People like different things, some like those things more than others. I've heard several things people don't like about Red Dead, and I can definitely understand it. Like the opening of the game, which I've heard for a lot of people can be very slow and boring, especially compared to a game like Rockstar's GTA 5 back in 2013, opening up with a bank robbery. Personally, I think Red Dead's opening is masterful and very compelling, but I can see why people can find it very slow. Another criticism of the game is that it's very tedious. Ironically, as I talk about the immersion of Red Dead, that can be too much for a lot of players who just want to have fun. I've seen people talk about the picking up items mechanic taking too long, which is very minor, but I get it, I guess. Or having to drink, eat, shave, and grow a bond with a horse is a lot. To me, I obviously love those things about the game, but I can see why it may turn others away. There's also the criticism about the mission structure, which isn't necessarily a Red Dead criticism but a Rockstar one. Mission structure has been criticized on Rockstar games since I can remember, and honestly, I don't get it. I'm sorry, like I've seen a few videos, but I don't know, I don't see how it's that much different from a lot of games. I mean, you go to this place which launches up this mission, you go here to go there, and so on and so forth, which is like a lot of games. It gives players the choice of exploring the world or whatever before they want to proceed with the story. That's what an open world game should be. The missions itself, I get, can be tedious at times, but they often offer variety and sets up the story in different ways. Yes, there is always room for improvement, more variety with the structure, but I feel like Red Dead gave a bit more freedom in how we decide to handle the way we complete a specific mission, and I have no doubt this will be expanded upon in the next installment. As for the big humongous elephant in the room, Red Dead Online that is, I don't hate it as much as most people do, or as much as Rockstar does, but I liked it. The character creation wasn't really good, but it was better than GTA 5, so there's that. As for the actual mode, I'm just gonna say it. It was never gonna be as big as GTA 5 Online, ever, no matter what they did. Red Dead is set in a time period without cars, no machine guns, no bikes or planes, no big houses or mansions or even pools, just the Old West, and unfortunately, the Old West is pretty boring compared to the new world we live in to most people. So I don't think that it was gonna be that big, to be honest. That being said, there's many things they could have added to make it better that I won't get into in this video, but properties was one thing I thought was a done deal. I'm shocked they never added any. Like, I don't know how it would function, but I just think it was dumb not to add any at all. One good thing I can say is the open world in Red Dead Online is much more lively than the open world in GTA Online, honestly. I barely played the online mode even when the updates were at its peak, whenever that was. I'm mainly a story mode guy. I love exploring the world and just doing random things, whatever it is you can think of, but I say all this to say, most other games don't have what Red Dead has, and if they do, it's not as good. There are probably games that do things better than Red Dead, no doubt, but to me, Red Dead has everything all in one. Everything you want in an open world game. It has everything, and not only is it the greatest open world game of all time, it is indeed the greatest game of all time. No disrespect to other games, because there are many that are truly incredible. This is just my opinion, this is how I personally feel, and I'm curious to know what your favorite games of all time are and why. To be honest, there's only one company and one game that I could see dethroning Red Dead Redemption 2. One game that can truly blow it away. One game capable of becoming the greatest. And one day, that game will release. Until then, thank you for watching, and more videos to come.
It would mean a lot to me. Please. There ain't no more time for talk. Go. Arthur. Go to your family. Arthur! Get the hell out of here and be a goddamn man. You're my brother. I know. I know.